Oops, hi, I think. Oh, no, wait. I forgot. A slight. All right, yeah, I know. There. Hi, I think. Uh, things are out of sorts. I think the dog walker is coming, so this. Wait, I'm trying. There. Okay, I think. All right, Blue, shut up. Chill. Good boy. This was an inauspicious start. This continues to be an inauspicious start. My mic is going. Okay. Stay there. So, there's so many things in my head. I just don't even know where to start. And in that respect, I know I'm like you. One of you sent me a tape of a former show about, God knows, what was it, 8 years ago or something. And it was an interview I did with Joanne Rogers, Mr. Rogers' wife, in the studio with me. So we're both sitting there. She was a friend. And I cannot tell you how wonderful it was to see her again, to hear her laugh. And I've been thinking about her a lot, and I've been thinking about Fred a lot. And again, I wish he were here now. I've been saying about all the people I love who are gone, I'm glad they're not here to see this. But Fred Rogers is somebody who we could use right now. And, he famously told children, and all of us really, that when bad things are happening, there are always people there who are there to help. And the famous quote that has resonated and will continue to outlive him is, look for the helpers. And yeah, and I was thinking, that's what Alex Pretty was. That's what Renee Good was. So look for the helpers, and we do, and they're lying dead in the street. They're lying dead in their car, their face shattered by bullets shot by representatives of our own government. They lie face down, shot in the back. Alex Pretty was the very definition of a helper. Look for the helpers. And I hope that his untimely and tragic execution, which clearly has served to unite I would think the vast majority of the American people in their horror and disgust. And that sacrifice he made was so powerful that it propelled the president of the United States to back up a little bit. And I mean a little bit. I'm not one to get too excited about the fact that Gregory Bovino has been dispatched, that vile, strutting Nazi, and that he's being replaced by another horrible human being, Tom Homan. But we're told Tom Homan, at least, is more practical. He's more trained. He's not going to get the administration into the public relations fiasco that Bovino did. And Noam, she's got to be on thin ice. Ha! So Trump talked to her and Lewandowski, who's, I guess, her chief aide, but is well known to be her lover, for 2 hours last night in the Oval Office. Man, if I had a stronger stomach, I would have loved to hear that. She's got to be on very thin ice. She's going to be gone. I keep saying thin ice. You know what? Ice. Let me get to that, because one of you, again, God, I love you guys. One of you, Michael, from the great punk brand, The Cynics. Boy, you guys were made for these times. Michael from The Cynics sent me a wonderful and long post, and he sent me a poem. And what's so funny about the poem he sent me is it is one that I thought of about a week and a half ago when I was being tortured at a rehab facility for my, knee replacement. And I remembered the poem. I didn't quite have it all, but Michael sent it to me. And I said to my trainer, I said, Robert Frost, it was Robert Frost, right? Fire and Ice. No. Oh, please don't tell me I can't. Hang on, I'm coming. Here, Fire and Ice. So how interesting that the poet's name is Frost. Yeah. So it's a short poem, but it is so apt, and it popped into my head, and now it popped into Michael's head, and he sent it to me, and I've got to share it with you. I'm sure many of you know it, but wow. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. How is that not perfection? Poets. Yeah, call in the poets now because they're long gone, all these poets, but they knew slouching toward Bethlehem. The center cannot hold. Yeah. And the other thing about ice, I just want to say the extraordinary confluence of the horror in Minneapolis that so many have witnessed now because of these wonderful things. I'm so, generally pissed off about technology and what it has done to us. But god damn, without these phones. So, the fact that Alex Pretty was killed on Saturday morning, and much of the United States was hunkered down because of, in much of the country, an ice storm. And we didn't get the ice as much as we got the snow, but we were snowed in. And so you had this, thank you, Mother Nature, you had this wonderful confluence, wonderful's not the right word, of events, so that so many Americans were kept from their normal routine and instead were stuck in their homes and probably watching more TV than they normally would or at a time. And the fact is because of that, I think more people who otherwise maybe don't pay attention, saw it with their own eyes and then heard Donald Trump and Bovino and Noam and Stephen Miller and all the other fucking Republicans tell them that what they saw, they hadn't seen. They told them a lie. He was a terrorist. He was brandishing a gun. They feared for their lives. There was a riot. There was no riot. They said he invaded a crime scene. There was no crime scene until they acted. The terrorists are our federal government. The murderers are the federal government. The victims, despite what the press secretary at the White House said yesterday, are not the thugs of ICE who fear for their lives. It's the American people. And they saw with their own eyes and they heard with their own ears the lies, the unbelievable lies that their own government was feeding them. And you know what it makes people wonder? What else are they lying about? People who maybe never thought that before. I know you did, I did, but some people, it's just not what they do. So, the thing about these fascists is they love sowing mistrust and doubt, fear, hate, all the good stuff. And they like I mean, the Republicans have been pushing to mistrust the government forever. I mean, Ronald Reagan, the saint. Remember him famously saying the scariest words in the English language are, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." Well, now they're true with this government. This government says it went into an American city to restore order, went into Chicago to restore order, DC, LA, and all it does is create mayhem. So I would think that when they sow this mistrust of government, what are they thinking? That it won't ever apply to them? Because they're sure doing a hell of a job at sowing mistrust in their government, Donald Trump's government. The one that lies, just flat out lies to their face. I happened to be watching CNN yesterday after the show. And I did something I haven't done, I think, ever. I sat through a White House press conference with Carolyn Levitt. And this is after the news had broken that Bovino was out and that the president had had a cordial, wonderful talk with Governor Walz in Minnesota. And they were on the same page and they agreed. That's all this shit coming out of the White House. And then they had Levitt in the press room. I watched. Oh my God. I mean, I have so many reactions. You know how in movies, I mean, if a character is evil, they're made, we all know what that looks like. The evil guys in movies, or, certain actors get typecast because they just look evil. But Carolyn Levitt, who looks like the all-American girl. She's attractive, she's blonde, she's composed. She is the face of evil. And that's where we humans often, our brains mislead us because we see an attractive person and we somehow think attractive means good. We see maybe a person who's misshapen, their face isn't right, and we think monster, evil. All these pretty women Trump likes to, and I use pretty with pretty women. He likes the face of evil. By the way, there's too much. By the way, 6:30 tonight, South Side, 3000 Sydney Street. Where like the Steelers training facility is. That's where ICE offices are. It's right about that area, over the Hot Metal Bridge. And you're there. 6:30 tonight. It's going to be cold. But if we haven't learned anything from these astonishing Minnesotans, it's cold doesn't keep you from standing up to ICE. Also, there's another demonstration in front of Fetterman's office. Fetterman, So he finally was smoked out, last Democratic senator, and made some, oh, well, it's not working. They better get out. I don't even fuck him. I'm not even going to bother with it. And he also intends to, he will not be joining other Democratic senators in voting against further funding for ICE. He's off the rails. And don't get too excited about the other senator, Dave McCormick, coming out and decrying ICE. He's decrying it because they went after a guy with a gun. He's going in for the Second Amendment, folk. Oh, that's another one. Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. And remember, the NRA would tell us that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun was a good guy with a gun. Alex Preddy was the good guy with a gun. And the bad guys, the government, filled him full of holes, heroically shooting him after being disarmed in the back. I know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but my God, guys. You know, one of the people who, Department of Homeland Security, I think I mentioned this the other day, was created after the shock trauma of 9/11, and putting all these agencies under one roof so we could get at the people who were attacking us. And at the time, a lot of people were freaked and saying, we're acting too fast. I don't know if we thought this out. This is an agency that could be, too unwieldy and all that under one roof. I don't know. And they, of course, turned out to be right, as we see. But one of the guys, and perhaps you've seen this, who helped set up, essentially helped found the, God damn it. Oh, hi. You know how a picture pops up of one of my old cats. Just sit there while I try to remember what it is I'm looking for. Okay? Thank you. Oh my God, guys, this is endless. I'll get it. So the guy who set up the helped Major Department of Homeland Security is a guy named John Mitnick. And in 2002 and 3, that's when, after 2001, 9/11, he was one of the chief architects. And then he became held the Homeland Security portfolio as the White House counsel, serving as general counsel of the Department of Homeland Security. Oh, God. And all that fit on his goddamn little calling card. Anyway, he put this out. I believed he served in Trump's first administration, too. He said, I am enraged and embarrassed by the department's lawlessness, fascism, and cruelty. Impeach and remove Trump now. Well, yeah. So here's this other thing I wanted to remark upon before I forget. Do you remember when CBS News, and I never saw it reported by any other outlet. Do you remember when CBS News came out all by itself with the information that the ICE guy who had killed Renee Good had suffered internal bleeding? Remember that? And I, for the life of me, couldn't figure out what the hell, how could he suffer internal bleeding when that car never, I mean, I bump into cars harder than that car if it encountered him at all. Whatever. And CBS News under Barry Weiss, whoa, did they, man, she is a journalist. They came up with stuff nobody else had. That poor victim, that ICE guy, suffered internal bleeding. You'll recall the President of the United States said he was wounded, run over. No other news facility ran with it. You know why? Snopes, that only purpose is to check out whether things are true or not, said, nah, no, I don't think so. So CBS News is now actively, truly, a propaganda outlet for the White House. Do you know what internal bleeding is? Here's how they would get away from any charge that they did not report the truth. I have an internal, do you see that? You see, my old lady hands. See that? That's an old lady hand. And that is internal bleeding. I, like Donald Trump, must have been shaking too many hands. If I look at a place on my body a little too strenuously, I get a bruise. And technically, a bruise is, it looks like it does because there's blood underneath the skin. The murderous ICE agent had a boo-boo. And CBS News under Barry Weiss led with it, went with it, trumpeted it. Also, if any of you, and you shouldn't, attempted to watch 60 Minutes Sunday, you were greeted with, I understand, 2 reruns of, puff pieces on 2 celebrities. I don't even, it doesn't matter, but CBS 60 Minutes, obviously known for tough, hard, investigative reporting that mattered. Under Barry, the staff has been informed that until she gets total control of the department there, they will be rerunning puff pieces on celebrities. She's also apparently talked about getting rid of some of the journalists that have hung in there. You understand, you can't turn your TV on. Those ratings, which are plummeting, have got to tank. Oh, and some people are making a big to-do about corporations based in Minnesota coming out with a letter that they put out together that said they didn't like what was going on. If you read the letter, it is about as tepid as one can imagine. And corporations are well versed in mealy-mouthed public utterances that appear to say one thing but might maybe mean something else. And the fact that they all came out together to do it, I mean, there's a ton of corporations that are headquartered there. They did it together, and you can just hear the CEOs talking to each other. Hey guys, if we put a letter out and we're all on it, he can't come after all of us. We put up too much of a front, and he'll leave us alone. If one of us individually goes out there, he'll come at you, but we'll do it together. And you would think if they had gotten that far, let's do it together, they might have gone a little bit further and actually said, get the fuck out of this state. You're killing us. And we aren't talking about the helpers dead in the streets. No, you're killing our bottom lines. Business is, tanking down. Get the out of here. You're killing our profits. You're killing the marketplace here. Nobody's shopping. Oh. Richard, you are really... Have you been to Western Psych? Richard is the guy who has he keeps watching old shows of mine. And then quote, this is the danger of doing what I do. Yeah, every word I've uttered is still out there. And I mean, I've uttered a lot of, stuff I wish I hadn't, I'm sure. And, but I've often also been shown to be prescient. Anyway, Richard found from a show from February 10, 2017. Oh, God. So that was a few weeks into Trump's, a few weeks into Trump's first term. He said, I said, it is 21 days into the reign of Donald Trump. There is no way we can do this for 4 years. And then Richard adds, but we did. And then the fucking American people, our friends, our neighbors, some of our mothers, fathers, uncles, and aunts and cousins, our classmates and pals, people we like, have fun, yada, yada, yada. They voted for him again. Unforgivable. To my mind. Don't ever come looking to me saying you're sorry. Not me. Do it to a Christian. I'm not. Do it to a Christian because they're supposed to forgive. I don't know that my religion says I have to. I think it's more nuanced. And mine doesn't say turn the other cheek. Anyway, Richard said, so we got through it despite what I said. And he says, we'll get through this too. I don't know. That one I don't know. Yeah, we'll get through it. Some of us. Some of us will die in the next 3 years. Some of us will get through it, but what will we be after 3 more years of this? And if we don't have 3 more years of this, how the hell are we going to get rid of him? Impeachment? Possibility. If for some reason there is an election in 11 months, it's free, it's fair, and the people of the United States give us a Congress that will impeach and will convict. That's the only way we get out of it before we do the whole 4 years. The only way. And if these guys keep doing what they're doing, it's conceivable that we could get that if we're able to vote. And if we're ready for the uprising from the Nazis that comes if we win the Congress. Because he'd still be the president. He would still be capable of creating unbelievable havoc. I don't see the 20, and the thing is, impeachment of Trump, yes, but also impeachment of the Attorney General, the impeachment of the head of the FBI, the impeachment of all of these fucks. Get rid of them. And then go after them criminally. They need to end up in jail. This country's tendency, if we manage to get them out, is to put it behind us. We cannot do that if we get through this. There has to be a reckoning. It's something America never allows. Oh, there, even after the Civil War, okay, everybody's fine, everything's good, blah, blah, blah. No, there has to be a reckoning. Yeah. Another little, I'm sorry for these long pauses, but the thing is, what I do here is just babble. And sometimes the babble has to stop so I can catch up to whatever the hell is going on in my head. A few things I wanted to put in here. By the way, I don't know what we as a country can do to thank the people of Minnesota. But they are deserving of our thanks, our gratitude, our support. We need to follow their example. Forget about our comfort. Forget that it's cold. It's never been so cold. It hurts. It does. But you know what? If you dress, it doesn't kill you. Ice kills. So something I came across, let me share this one with you. The odd thing is that in our history, we have seen the federal government go into a state with guns. I've seen that. After those racist thugs in Alabama beat up those peaceful protesters in Selma back in the 60s, right? The federal government went in. And what's so odd about this is that the federal government has gone in and is playing the part of the racist thugs. And the state is desperately trying to exert its authority. But a state's authority is limited when it comes to taking on the feds. And I just want to share some facts with you in our upside down world, where you used to be happy if the feds came in because they were acting on the side of justice, as opposed to now when they come in to terrorize and occupy an American city. I don't know where I got this, but the FBI does not appear to be involved in any investigation of what has happened there, which is what happens when the feds go in. They not only bring some muscle to get control of the situation, but the FBI goes in and creates timelines and evidence and all of that. In fact, we now have an FBI that is investigating, I found out today. They're investigating, as usual, the helpers. They're investigating the people in Minneapolis who organize to help their neighbors by using Signal chat. I mentioned that yesterday. Kash Patel got wind of that and said he's going after him for that. He said, "Our office has jurisdiction to review this matter for potential criminal conduct." Okay. The reason the feds can go in and do this is because after the Civil War, there was an act to help combat violence by state and local officials in the South. And thus, the federal government made it a federal crime for anyone under color of law to willfully deprive people of their rights, okay? And that, during the 60s, gave the Justice Department, which then was acting as a Justice Department, to go into these states who were violating the civil rights of their citizens. But here's the thing. So Minnesota's gone after the feds and are suing them. And they're trying to hold these murderers liable, criminally liable. But here's some more legal history. In 1890, the Supreme Court, gee, it's hard to believe John Roberts was there then. In 1890, the Supreme Court said that federal officials are immune from state charges when acting within their authority. There might be some wiggle room there. And so, in order to hold a federal officer for a crime, you have to prove, I'm trying to remember how this goes because it's not here, I thought it was, that he or she intentionally, you have to prove intent, meant to exceed their authority. And that's, intent, very hard to prove. However, it was used once. And it was used against the feds by the right-wingers at Ruby Ridge. And they prevailed in the killing of, what's his name's wife, Vicki Weaver. She was killed by an FBI sniper. I don't know. That got some leg room. The government paid her family some money. So anyway, I'm just saying Minnesota's got their work cut out for them. And here is a criminology professor quote. For decades, in terms of investigation and cooperation in these kinds of events, while there hasn't always been the best cooperation, there has always been some. But now we're seeing not only no cooperation in the investigation of these murders, but contamination. And that's new territory. And that's the other thing. Preddy's gun, they took it, the feds. They have all the video of their own people. They have been fucking with the evidence, withholding evidence, efforts to get the evidence, because we know what, and they're not even bringing in the FBI, like that would matter, to do the investigation. DHS is investigating DHS. DHS agents since July have fired their guns something like 18 times. They've killed 4 Americans, I believe it's 4. They have always charged the victims immediately after and put out false narratives. In as much as any of those cases has gone to court against the victims, the courts have thrown them out, or the prosecutors have dropped them after they got the headlines they wanted. And understand, Tom Homan coming in, even if they pull out, this is a temporary setback for them. There is no changing what the game plan has to be for these guys. They have got to ensure that they get this country under their thumbs before November of this year and that election. Make no mistake. Has nothing to do with immigrants. I don't know. Guys, I'm sorry. Oh, I have something. I thank you. Thank you, me, for putting that on paper and saying, try to remember to share this with your audience. So, I haven't left my house since Saturday night. But I heard kids playing. I heard the delightful sound of children at play yesterday. and I poked my head out a window. And it was my neighbor's children, and they were having such a good time sledding down their driveway, which isn't that long a driveway, but it does have a little bit of a, and oh my God, and it occurred to me that these kids who are like 5, 6, 7-ish, this snowfall for them was the biggest they'd ever seen, the most extraordinary thing they'd ever seen, and there were their parents allowing them to do something they would never be allowed to do, which is sled down their driveway and right into the street because the street was unplowed, no cars on it. And it made me remember from my childhood, these are the kinds of memories that will stay with them forever. Because I have memories, you have memories of that one astonishing snowfall where I heard yesterday, because they closed Negley, the big hill on Negley from Wilkins down to Fifth Avenue in Shadyside, and people were sledding and skiing down Negley Avenue. And so again, this natural disaster that happened put us in a place where we all witnessed something we might otherwise not have in such great numbers, which could have a definite impact on what this country and its people do to try to regain their country. But that weather also gave a gift to a lot of children, created lifetime memories. And I want to say that it just did my heart such good to hear their laughter and to see that. Wow. Deputy Nicholas Cahagius resigns. Who is deputy of what? I cannot risk putting my fellow law enforcement officers in increased danger due to the environment created by a dishonest media and a baseless lawsuit combined with the dangerous rhetoric or actions of certain persons in the community. Who is that? No. You know better than that. Son of a bitch. Sorry, that's somebody who knows I'm doing a show. What the fuck? Okay, hang on. Here's the other thing. I'm sorry, that came in from one of you, and I don't know what that is. I'm trying. This is rough. Not having you able to call and contribute more. It's driving me a little nuts, but I'm okay. What I wanted was to. What did you want? I don't know if you're aware that where is it? Oh, Minnesota's chief federal judge. And by the way, the federal judiciary in that district is very conservative. Minnesota's chief federal judge has demanded the acting head of U.S. Immigration and Customs of ICE. Minnesota's chief federal judge has demanded that the acting head, I don't know what happened to the head. What happened to the head? So we got an acting head of ICE whose name you don't even know, a guy named Todd Lyons. He must personally appear in that court Friday to explain to what the chief judge said was repeated failures to comply with court orders about its enforcement efforts in the state of Minnesota. U.S. District Judge Patrick Schiltz wrote, "The court's patience is at an end." This guy, by the way, is a Republican appointee. I think George W. appointed him. He goes on to say, the court acknowledges that ordering the head of a federal agency to personally appear before us is an extraordinary step. But the extent of ICE's violation of court orders is likewise extraordinary. And lesser measures have been tried and failed. So here is our judiciary going after this totally lawless federal government who have been ignoring countless orders from the courts. Let me see if there's anything else here. No. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see if that guy shows. You know, it's something else I wanted to note, and I think I got waylaid when I was talking about how many Americans have been shot at and killed and the false narratives that immediately go out. But not one of the officers from ICE or U.S. Border Patrol, any of these Homeland Security terrorists, not one of them has had any disciplinary action taken against them. Not a single one. I guess you could say Bovino, that strutting peacock of a Nazi thug. Looks like the dog is back. Michael saying, yeah, there are people snowboarding down Rialto Street. Wow. I bet a lot of people had a lot of fun yesterday, and for that, I am truly glad. One other thing I just wanted to say really quickly about the White House press conference, Carolyn Levitt, that I saw that just chilled my blood. It reminded me of something that Trump did immediately upon taking office the second time. He changed how press were allowed into that briefing room. And he pulled a lot of the regulars who represented reputable, true news organizations, pulled them out and put in like these lunatics, these disseminators of false narratives and all of that. And when the evil Carolyn Levitt finished her opening remarks and said, and now I'll take questions, she pointed immediately to some guy who asked it was like, again, being in an Orwell nightmare, who asked her some question about the evil protesters and what they were. It was a total crazed setup based in their false narrative. And she thanked him for the question and then gave her piece of shit. And then he asked another one, and the news, the press briefings are filled with these people. The Pentagon, as you know, got rid of all of them. This is what fascists do. This is not what America does. Freedom of the press, number one. And it isn't free anymore. And corporations bending the knee that now own so much of our news apparatus are like CBS, Barry Weiss, and the Washington Post, and Bezos bending the knee to the fascists. God. This is no time for celebration for a win. We got a little win here. A wonderful man had to die. But this is just a little win. These guys will not stop, and they will probably double down. Don't believe a word they say. Not a word. They have a plan, and they intend to implement it over our dead bodies. Just remember that. And go sledding if you can. We've got to grab joy where we can. But mostly we got to resist. See you tomorrow.